Hi, it's Jenny again, back from America. I'm going to give you some information here on an unindicted baby that the consultants wanted Lucy indicted for. It concerns, although this is only circumstantial evidence, I am wondering if Susie Holt might be involved with this. Now, Susie Holt started working in March of 2016. This is an important time. This was the directly right after baby K, and this baby that I will give you here, which March 2016 was the last baby death right before baby O. Now let's look at this date here where this email was sent. This is April. This is weeks after she started working as a consultant. Written by Susie Holt, who was who attended that infamous meeting with the Cheshire Police with Ravi and Brewery. Although she did not say much, please never underestimate the power of a woman and her ability to communicate in a nonverbal manner. Meaning, just her presence alone was enough proof positive to the police that, quote unquote, Brewery and Jerram weren't misogynistic pigs. Plus, women are very, very good at communicating non-verbally through gestures, etc., and non-verbal means as a way to emphasize whatever the men are saying to the police. So I think her presence was just as important as Brewery and Jerram. But I find what's utterly disgusting here is that look at this email that she had written. Okay? I'm going to read it to you. She sends it to all gang of 7 here. Thanks, Steve. I have gone through it trying to be a lay person, i.e. police or trust board member. I have added a glossary of terms, including a survival chart, to avoid the all neonates likely to die mentality. I think we need to be more explicit if possible and have suspicion of criminal activity comment next to any of those where people can recollect abnormal behavior, i.e. Ravi's case with the dislodged tube during the other nurse's short period of time off the unit. If I were police reading this, I would want to know which cases to pick up first to prove or disprove criminal activity, and we can provide that guidance with a few pertinent reflections. Clearly, we have to be careful in putting it in writing, but as Simon said, we have to show them evidence or potential evidence of criminal activity, or we will continue to be drowned out by endless trust level reviews. Our CPCH, that was that review that she was mad of. I agree with John's comments. Our expert opinion is evidence in itself, so we should be stating if death expected or not. And something that Mark Mays has noticed on the documentary, so-called documentary that Netflix put out, a detective by the name of Vicky Holt with the same last surname as Susie was one of them that grilled Lucy endlessly for hours and hours. We do not know if there is a connection with that Vicky Holt to Susie Holt. They just share the last surname. Now, here is the baby that I found here. Although was not on indictment, but I will show you that they tried to stitch her up with that. Here we go. Non-indicted baby, March 2016. That was a term baby. And it has multiple congenital anomalies, including dysplasia. Now, notice, what I am noticing here is that there, as I showed you in other babies, there is no deep dives that Brewery did on this baby, as he did on on other babies. None of that stuff. I have to question whether or not he did this as a favor for our Miss Susie Holt. Now, this baby has a number of dataxes, and this proves this was the only baby that died in March, and I question if this is the baby under these dataxes. Okay, look at this one here. March 7th, 2016, a Datix 4, which was reported in relation to the death on the neonatal unit following recess. I exhibit this document as whatever. The incident reporter was Nurse T. All right. Second Datix. And please excuse all the writing I have on this. This is a document that I go back to frequently, and I find such wonderful stuff. Okay, second thing. I hope you can read this. Okay. Again, March 8th, 2016, a data incident reported in relation to, on 3 March 2016, it was noted that an infant had a septic screen carried out for temperature instability and low blood sugars at, I guess, 11 o'clock, and cefotaxime prescribed given via a Broviac line. Now, Broviac line tells us that this baby has been around for a little while. She wasn't just born. Also, a Broviac line indicates that this baby at some point was at Alder Hey. That is where they surgically place these. Broviac lines, think of them as almost a permanent form of a central line. And they are used for infants that would need long-term intravenous central line medications, TPN, antibiotics, etc. So look at that. That baby was at Alder Hey and then was sent back. So it got glucagon and 20% glucose infusion via Broviac. A telephone call with the pharmacist informed that teicoplanin, again, that is a massively potent antibiotic. That and given with cefotaxime are usually given for something, the most severe of severe infections. An example would be for MRSA. I rarely saw teicoplanin given when I did chart reviews. I never saw it on a neonate. But when I saw it on an adult, I knew to keep an eye on that. I knew that patient had or was suspected of having massive or horrendous pathogen and probably needed care afterwards. That teicoplanin here was a red flag to me. Now, this was not compatible with glucose concentration, and no drugs are compatible with glucagon. So why did this baby need glucagon? It needed glucagon because its sugar was low. Why was its sugars low? It's because it was freaking septic, people, and it was running out of steam. Advised that due to incompatibilities of infusion, they could not guarantee what, if any, benefit the cefotaxime given earlier in the day had. It was noted that the doctors and shift leader were informed. The incident reporter was Lucy. Okay, now, second Datix on this baby too. Another Datix instance on March 8th in relation to incidents on March the 3rd in relation to, I assume that's this baby. Okay, it was noted that teicoplanin had not been given per sepsis. Baby had per sepsis guideline. Infant had a Broviac line in situ. The doctors were informed and teicoplanin was prescribed with a further delay in administering due to lack of access. Again, the incident was Lucy Letby. Okay, now let's look at what else do we know about this baby. Well, we don't know a whole lot about this baby because, again, Brewery did not make out one of his things, one of his various reports. But we do know from the, right here, but what we do know from, I'm going to push this back here so you can read this. Okay, it's not baby K as in Ravi's baby K, it's KV. Although it was not on indictment, it was sent over as part of, and Susie wrote this, had involvement in this, and it was sent over as the first batch to Operation Hummingbird. Now, it says term baby with multiple congenital abnormalities, basically cleft lip and palate, that's to the mouth, abnormal eyes, ears, nose, and genitalia. Yeah, that baby, you can survive with that, okay? Developed abdominal distension and cardiac arrest on day 2. Postmortem was consistent with frontofacial nasal dysplasia. However, the abnormalities were not life-threatening, and neither postmortem findings nor blood tests were able to explain why she deteriorated and arrested. Consensus of the Countess of Chester, pediatrician, and external Liverpool neonatologist, that's Sim Nebahara, that the cause of sudden deterioration and cause of death was unexplained. So this baby, everyone is in agreement this baby should have survived. Now, what does our friend Dowie says? This is 2 parts here. No suspicions? multiple congenital problems. And that tells me again, I do believe, and in the previous video that I had, Dewey has a thing against people with congenital abnormalities, autism, against women, and just a multitude of issues. I think the reason he said no suspicious because he didn't care that a baby with congenital problems had a problem. He probably didn't think it was worthy of living. And remember, Dewey was a director of a hospice. And guess what? Susie Holt, too, for a time, was the director of a children's hospital. You do not get lower than that if you're this type of person. Now, says, born in good condition. 24 hours later, to neonatal grunting, no feeding, distended abdomen, bile aspirates, air in abdomen, and perforation in intestines. Now he says possible perforation from birth or prior to birth. Good care, no suspicion. No, it didn't perf prior to birth. This baby only had a facial congenital abnormalities. It did perfed afterwards, congenital afterwards. Now let's find out what do we know about Susie Holt here. Susie Holt, supposed special interest was gastroenterology. They would have had this baby looked at by her. All right. Other questions as I have. First of all, she was a hospice director like Dewey, but she is currently part of the palliative care team at Alder Hey Hospital. I, as a woman, would not allow my grandchildren to be seen by her. Palliative care is where you go, where you are extremely medically complex. You have and it is for support of both you, the patient, but also the family and the caregiver. Many of these babies, these patients have a shorter expected life expectancy. And although we cannot think of it as hospice, it is often what care is given there as so prior to it, should hospice be needed. And it is to provide basically quality of life care for that. Now, again, I am disgusted. Susie Holt is a mother of, I believe she said 2 children. Susie Holt actively sought to make sure that Lucy could not become a mother, to spend the rest of her life in jail. Susie Holt, she had a part in attempting to sterilize Lucy. I don't know about you, but I do remember the Nazis had specific Joseph Mengele sterilization programs for people. Again, I have no proof that she is involved in this baby, but we do have proof that she is involved with the absolute miscarriage of justice to Lucy, and actively sought a way to put Lucy away for life. She absolutely knew that these babies weren't cared for well, that the consultants were screwing up. And you know what? As a woman, I find nothing more disgusting than a woman going after a woman and protecting a man. I am more disgusted with Ghislaine Maxwell than I am with Jeffrey Epstein, because I believe as a woman, we should protect our fellow woman and do whatever we can not to aid disgusting men such as Jeffrey Epstein, Stephen Brewery, and Ravi Jairam. I'm going to let you form your own opinions. Bye-bye.